Tia Div, agus fáilte go dí Terra Incogweirdos, my friends. Hello and welcome to Terra Incogweirdos, my friends. Today I'm here to tell you about Always André, my other really good ghost friend from the Pot Spring Mansion. Now, I'm going to try something a little different today because, as some of you may or may not know, depending on how many videos you've watched here on Terra Incogweirdo, Auntie Angie is autistic. And so I wanted to find out if you liked it better when I told you a story off the top of my head in my very autistic way, or if you like it better if I write the story down first, because when I write things, it comes out very different than when I just say them. Okay, so I'm going to read you this story about André, and it's also about me trying to come to terms with just the concept of death at, age 8 going on 9. Also trying to come to terms with what was going on with me internally at that time. Auntie Angie was an OG non-binary. Everybody called me a tomboy because that's what you called people back then who were a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I was very confused. I understood that I had girl parts, but I didn't feel like a girl on the inside. And I just didn't understand why I had to choose. Why couldn't I be a little bit of both? And I still wonder why I can't choose and be a little bit of both. But that's a question for another channel. Or maybe just not for today, okay? Today we're going to talk about Always André. Oh, what a great friend André was to me. So I'm going to read you this story. It is entitled Fox, and it is about one of the incidences that I had with André. Okay, here we go. And let me know, please, in the comments, what you like better, me reading you the story or telling you a story off the top of my head. Okay. Fox. We are not sure why we are telling you this. There is something in here we feel we've forgotten. Perhaps in the telling it will reveal itself to us. We are 8 years old and we think of ourselves as we. There's more than one reason for this. We are in the body of a girl, but inside we feel like a boy. We despise and deny all girly things, like clothes that just don't fit. Also, there has never been a time in this life when we were not surrounded by multitudes of others. Other humans, other animals, and other indescribable entities have crowded around us since birth, attracting our attention, showing us secrets and telling us of what has been and what will be. We are not now, have never been, nor will ever be singular or alone. It is a hot day and still, even though the calendar is inching into October. Come and live it with us. We stand on the driveway, leaning against the huge old oak with the low-slung crotch where our Irish setter Diablo liked to drape. Not today, though. We gaze off to our right at the old, sturdy smokehouse, wondering how things are hanging with John, but not really wanting to know. Mr. B is half in, half out of the tall, narrow tool cabinet on the south side of his garage. Without emerging, he asks us to go into the old kitchen and fetch such and so do thingamajig from the broke-down dresser. Mr. B enlisted us as his unofficial gopher. Go for? Language is so strange. Anyway, yeah, he started having us help him around ye old slave-era mansion after the incident with the lady on the second-floor landing. We do know her name, you see, but it's a secret, so shh. The chilly Mrs. B was out just now, probably astride her thoroughbred somewhere, hopefully not too nearby. On account of this, it's okay to run through the house, what with the old kitchen being all the way on the opposite side from the garage. Up the sweet pine-scented steps we helped Mr. B build just last week. through the west entry with a straight shot past the formal front door and through the massive entry hall that runs the full length of the manse, north to south. Skirting the circular stairs that Mr. B taught us were not the originals, we hang a left hook into the low-roofed exposed stone servants' area. This brings us past the newer, uglier, in our opinion, kitchen. Pretending we are horse jumping, we fly over the ancient, well-worn stone lintel, dropping us down on level with the old kitchen. From here, it is a straight shot out this brick-lined hallway to the small door opposite the entrance to the old kitchen that always stands open on your right halfway down. We like this part of the mansion much better than anywhere else, even more than the astonishing puppet room on the 4th floor attic level. As soon as we enter that stone-clad corridor off the formal main hall, an entire shift in atmosphere is always immediately detectable. This side is all butter and sunlight, while the other a bright white sorrow. Here in the recollection, we are going to talk about André, so get ready for lots of alwayses. Of course, we always know André will be in the old kitchen. When is André ever to be found anywhere but the old kitchen? Answer, almost never. Speaking of almost ises and always ises, almost always, today being no exception, André is asleep in his ubiquitous pose, seated in the decrepit slump chair, desperately in need of recaning, with his feet propped up on the skeleton of a stool that has plummeted past desperation and has simply given up. The stool is always situated precisely 14 inches away from and always at an oblique angle to the open fireplace, which is always blazing, be it night or day, winter, spring, summer, or fall. André is so predictable. He is always André. The broke-down dresser, banquette, chest of drawers, or is it Chester drawers? We are never sure. All appellations bestowed upon this worn piece of furniture by Mr. B lies in a direct line from the entry against the south wall and by necessity over André's outstretched legs. Momentum carrying us forward, we take one gargantuan leap into the room and fair fly across André's supine limbs. All would have been quite well indeed had André not chosen that precise moment in which to jerk awake, pulling his knees up and jackknifing us directly into Chester drawers, our swan song morphing into a disastrous swan dive. The wind gets knocked out of us upon impact, and we accomplished a twist slither down to the floor, back up against Chester, attempting to regain our breath. We are looking at André's coachman boots, their brown tops just now being at about eye level. We feel far off somehow as we contemplate his jodhpur-sheathed shins and the doorway that can be seen through them while air goes in and nausea goes out. Part 2. We stop there because there is a lapse. Our memory goes from shins to lightning-struck chestnut tree. We are on the crest of the hill where it starts to slope downwards with a view across the 5-acre meadow and further down the bramble-encrusted slope to the slave quarters, which hide below, lying long, low, and cool in the shade of the copse near the old pot spring. Here is an existential math problem for you. How many people were standing there just then, looking into the black heart of the lightning-struck chestnut tree? 3. Both me's, boy me, girl me, and André. 2. Me as a questionably singular entity alien to my own understanding, plus André? 1, maybe, seeing as André was both there and not there, and if we pretend to ourselves that we are an I and not a we. There may have been only one, or, as we are suspecting, multitudes. Truth be told, most folks would have looked out onto that hilltop and seen only one person standing under the ancient chestnut. But the actual answer is that there is no answer, for reality is relative to the perceiver. All answers are correct, just as none of them are. The weather has changed, and since we ran to fetch Mr. B's such-and-so-do thingamajig, which now dangles all tenuous-like from the tips of our left fingers, no memory of how it got there. The weather had shifted while we were in the old kitchen, and now a roiling molten crust of gray cumulus was whipping up eastward above the open waters of Loch Raven, ingesting the bright blue late autumn sky. The wind, in love with the crisp leaves of the chestnut, semaphored the advent of a barren season. We stand motionless beneath the tree, between its casting of spiky seeds, as life and death swirls around us in a frantic soiree. André of the Always is always kind and patient with me. He takes my free hand in his silky, ethereal one and nods with his chin towards the opening. Inside the charred hollow, with its snout pointed like a divining rod to the southward meadow, reposes the perfect untouched skeleton of an adult fox. How our 8-year-old brain knows this to be the remains of a fox is as unfathomable as life or anything else, but our heart understands that it is so. We stand there with André, corporeal hand clasped in our We stand there with André, corporeal hand clasping incorporeal hand, reflecting on death, our new acquaintance. Death seems to have decided that year 8 was a time to introduce itself and say howdy. Our first run-in with death occurred earlier that year when we found one of the silver gills in our family tank floating on the surface. Mother did a very bad job of explaining dead, causing us to roll into a 24-hour jag of hysterics. The sad affair ended with her exclaiming in exasperation, and not for the first time, "Why do you always have to be like this?" Clearly not indicating anything positive in the utterance. Appropriately, our second encounter with death that year came in the form of the lady on the second floor landing, and Mr. B's explanation of her, claiming she was not alive, but was in fact part of this new dead thing, even though we conversed with her audibly almost daily, and she was not see-through. Then another first, experiencing the feeling of ice-cold realization washing frigid fingers over us when we came to the fabulous conclusion that many of our closest friends were actually dead. Then Diablo died. The parents tried to hide it, but their internal machinations had never been private from us. And so we knew what they meant when they told us Diablo had gone to a farm in the country where he could run and run all day and sleep by a big warm fire at night. And speaking of sleeping by the fire, what about André? By Mr. B's explanation, André was clearly dead. Yet unlike the lady on the second floor landing, André was sometimes see-through, sometimes not, and likewise some of our conversations were held in the silent space of our minds, and some were not. Yet here too apparently was more dead. And can we talk about John for a minute, who was caught in an eternal moment hanging from a meat hook in the old granite block smokehouse? André was of the dead, not dead variety, but John, even though he was see-through like André often was, he never spoke and appeared to be both dead and dead. Now this fox, who had oriented its gracefully tapering muzzle towards the beautiful meadow where it had whiled away the days of its bucolic existence, it put us to wondering. If we could have friendships with some of the dead, why not all of the dead? Why could I communicate with the lady and André, but not with John? Why could I see the lady, André, and John in this state of dead, but not the silver gill fish, Diablo, or the fox? Where had they gone? And for the love of sanity, just how many kinds of dead are there? Part 3. Our thoughts went all adrift that day, standing by the chestnut tree with André, blowing away across the open meadow where Diablo and the fox once roamed. Now this remembrance has come full circle and blown back in upon the fickle breeze of memory. If reality is relative to the perceiver, then it follows, so is life, and death as well. So in case you didn't know, or you forgot, like us, then now you know it. Not only do we get to choose how to live life, we also get to choose how to live death. All right, so that's the story, and that's the kind of things my 8-year-old brain was grappling with. Different forms of dead, different forms of gender, and all kinds of other things. Life is complicated, sometimes sticky, sometimes amazing, but always worth it. So hang around with us, because you're important and we need all of you here. Bring the light, as my wonderful husband likes to say. Okay, so Incogweirdos, let me know what you think. Did you like me reading something I had written down first better, or do you like it when I just go for broke and let it all explode out the top of my head? I really appreciate your opinions, so please do weigh in the comment sections below. Okay, so before we go, we're going to do a quick session of psychic practice. Let's exercise that psychic muscle, people. Yay! Okay, so me and Purple Mommy, God bless you, God love you, Purple Mommy, would like you to join in with us today for some psychic practice. Okay, I'm going to look at an object in my environment. It's a household object, very common. I'm going to look at it 3 times and then look back in the camera 3 times, and you let me know down in the comments what you think it is. Okay, ready? Here we go. Okay, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it hard. Okay, I'm looking at you. What was I looking at? What was it? Okay, looking at it again. Okay, now I'm looking. I'm saying it to you. I'm telling you. Screaming. What was it? What was it? Okay, one more time. Looking at it. Okay, I'm looking at you. Really visualizing it. All right, you got it? All right. Bow. Thanks for playing, kids, and thanks for being here today. Tara Incogweirdo. And what do you do if somebody calls you a weirdo? Well, you say thank you, because being normal is boring. All right. I love you very much, Incogweirdos, and I will see you next time when I will be bringing you a deep dive on the Pot Spring Mansion with photos of all of these, not all, but a lot of the stuff I've been telling you about in the past few videos of the Pot Spring Mansion. I will have actual photos to show you. So tune in next time. Tara Incogweirdo, the land where para is normal. I love you all very much. Thanks for being here. Salan Gofal.